Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We are broadcasting from the Thacker Jewelry Studios. View loose diamonds, custom designs, and more at thackerjewelry.com. And we want to get right to the phones. We've got the Lubbock County Sheriff, Kelly Rowe, on the line. And Sheriff Rowe, thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Hey, no problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Hope you all are doing well
Sheriff?
in this new year.
Yeah.
So, Sheriff, how is everything at the Lubbock County Jail?
Well, the jail is an interesting thing right now, only because with everything else that has happened over the last year, the one thing that I would have anticipated and has occurred in quite a few places around the state is that we would be backing up significantly on population, but we've kind of been the polar opposite and kind of dipped to some new lows. If you consider kind of over the last 3 to 5 years, but things are stable out there. We have very minimal activity going on, like I said. But hopefully, as this COVID issue begins to pass and we can resume back to normalcy, we'll get to get folks processed through the system.
That's one of the things I wanted to follow up on. Is I know COVID has had a big effect on prisons, jails throughout the country because you have a whole lot of people living in a very close proximity to one another. And there's even some talk about getting the inmates vaccinated. So I don't know if you comment on that, and how about the outbreak in the jail? Have you noticed?
Well, again, it's been something that I get reported or get a report every morning, and typically we've been handling anywhere from somewhere 1 to 5 per day positive cases. It's been very minimal. We've had little to no serious issues as a result of it. But it's like I've said to everybody since day one. When you do operate a detention center, a large detention center or prison, communicable or these types of diseases or illnesses is something we deal with every day. Infectious disease is just part of it. We have staff out there specifically to deal with it, and so even during a normal year, take COVID out of the picture, a normal year with a bad flu season or strep throat or whatever else, I mean, quarantining, doing those types of functions isn't anything new. This wasn't highly unique outside of that in terms of how we've had to manage that population and keep everybody safe.
So, Sheriff, he asked something. I know that some states were talking about giving the prison population the COVID-19 vaccine first. Have at least in your older population or those that fit within the parameters that are able to get it, have any of the inmates been able to get a vaccine?
I don't believe any vaccinations have happened out there yet. And again, we're following through, with anything. This is, we're following in the direction from the state, the governor's office in particular, and then how that translates down to the city of Lubbock and those folks in turn that are responsible for dispersing those things out, as well as their work with the hospital. So when that begins to happen, when that becomes available, then it will, they'll have access to it. But again, I think city of Lubbock, from everything I can gauge so far, they're trying to distribute according to that schedule of individuals in accordance with that, based on the supplies they're getting in.
Yeah. So as far as budgets are concerned, I know that you were able to get a little bit more money for your deputies. Is everything going okay as far as the extra money coming in for the deputies, as well as vehicles, all that stuff? Is everything going okay as far as budgets?
Well, so far, I think so. I think we saw definitely a little bit of a reduction in attrition as a result of that. Still got more work to do. The Commissioner's Court, several of the members, and the judge in particular, we knew as we were closing out last summer's budget that we had more work to do, and it's a matter of doing what we can where we can, and we're just now starting that process again. We just started back at the middle of January, beginning the beginning our internal things to prepare for submission later in the spring. But this court, like I said, has been very, very easy and good to work with in terms of getting these things accomplished. So, we'll see what comes in terms of priorities. Salaries is certainly going to be there because we recognize, and I think, Matt, to your question, we've still got a ways to go to get up there and keep us competitive with those agencies we're losing the bulk of people to.
Yeah, and it does seem like this commissioner's court is pretty pro sheriff's department.
Yes, I mean, and I think they're pro county. I mean, it's just they think through these things, they examine things very carefully, and they certainly understand prioritizing where they need to. But they're also realists in the sense that, like I said, I think they know where the county is and where it needs to get to for basically proper operation, if you will, maybe a lack of a better term, in 2021 and into the future.
So Joe Biden is apparently putting a halt to the border as far as the new border walls. He's putting a halt to that. He also seems to be trying to open up the border. He's getting rid of the orders to get rid of people that have already got deportation orders. How does that affect our county, and are we going to see a rise in crime, do you think, because of this?
Well, I think it goes hand in hand. And, you have to keep in mind, too, there's other things at play because, if all of that turns out, which I have no doubt you're absolutely accurate, I've been reading and seeing the same things, well, then is the state going to respond as it did a number of years ago, and we're going to lose a lot of our DPS support, on a regular basis? It's going to be heading down there to try to fill the gaps, if you will, where Border Patrol or immigration can't. Just in Lubbock alone, and I tell people this, we've had a program going on out there at the detention center that allows our officers or grants our officers status within Immigration Custom to investigate and look at individuals being brought into our facility. And over the short time period that program's been in place, that group, and we're talking a half a dozen people at most, have identified 600 individuals illegally in this country in the U.S. from 32 different countries. So again, yes.
And these are people who've already committed crimes as well, right?
They're coming into the jail, which means they're charged with something that brought them there, not having anything to do with immigration. So these are individuals that are breaking state laws, federal laws, in the case of a lot of times narcotics, trafficking, and those types of things. They're coming in, and then we're identifying in concert with ICE these folks as being foreign nationals. So again, this is going to present a problem. We here in Lubbock can expect that this is going to be an issue that we really haven't had to talk about the last few years. A lot of that stuff had been much better managed, but this drive to want to keep these individuals, particularly those that are on detainer, completing prison sentences, jail time, and that type of thing, to want to fight to keep them in the country is beyond me. But evidently, it's what he wants to do. So,
all right,
it's his vision of America.
We have to take a quick break, Sheriff Rowe. But when we come back, I would love to talk a little bit about the gang problem here in Lubbock.
Sure.
And it seems to be, according to the numbers I've seen that apparently came out of your office, it seems to be getting worse. And we'd like to hear those numbers over the air, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back on Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We're going to jump right to the phones. We've got Sheriff Kelly Rowe on the phone. And Sheriff Rowe, thank you again for coming on. I did want to again ask you about the gang, but I had a quick question first. Okay. Is one of the issues as far as people being in jail, maybe the numbers going down, is it because a lot of times, you watch it on the TV shows, you hear about it, a lot of the busts that happen with drugs and whatnot happen from police officers stopping somebody. A lot of times it's for even a tail light being out or something like that, and they stop somebody, and then they have a bunch of drugs in their car. But you're not seeing the police stop as many people for smaller stuff like that because of COVID. Do you think that's one of our issues?
Well, it certainly was in the beginning, because law enforcement, and for us and, like many other agencies, we slowed our, what you're referring to there kind of as our proactive enforcement.
Well, and you have to protect your police officers from COVID as well.
that was it, to minimize their exposure risks. We made a lot of changes, early. However, as violence kicked up, and I think the criminal element who might have been scared of COVID for, a week or so, kind of realized we were taking a step back. They, I think, kind of jumped more in. Hence the reason we saw a lot of the violence over this past year. And, most of us now have all, are right back to kind of full normal operations. So, neither here nor there. You hit a good point, but, it's been an interesting dynamic no matter what.
Yeah.
Hey, Sheriff, let me ask you this. We have a texter this morning that says, can you ask the sheriff if they're still hiring detention officers, please?
Oh, absolutely. Every day. One of the things with all this anti-police rhetoric we've been just inundated with over the last really couple of years now, has really started to, I think, impact our recruiting, our capabilities to recruit, and the number of quality applicants we're seeing, period. So I'm generally holding...
Are you saying you have more applicants?
No, less, far less than we're used to seeing. And
I'm surprised at that, because there's certainly, not to my knowledge at least, any anti-police rhetoric coming out of this part of the country.
Not here in Lubbock. Lubbock, like I said, we're fortunate here. We've got a great community that supports all of their law enforcement, all of their agencies. That's not the case. It's the national narrative that, and we're even seeing in some cases in the state. You got the legislature about to start as there's a big agenda of police reform. That they want to try to get into. That's not really new. That was the same last session. But neither here nor there. I think overall, I've read some studies show, applications for police down 65% nationally.
Well, though, Sheriff, I would not be. I'm surprised that there's been so many police, like in Minneapolis and New York City, places where they're really anti-police, and there's so many police that have quit or been fired. I'm surprised that we're not seeing some of those brave people move to this part of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with you there, and we may still be kind of waiting to see that happen. That may still be yet to come, but I still think
we ought to recruit there.
Do what, sir?
Maybe we ought to recruit there.
Well, we're recruiting as broad and wide, I think, as we can, but again, and I've been asked this question numerous times, been in conversations where this question has been asked numerous times. But literally, when we're at this point talking about if we were all in our 20-somethings again, right now, today, knowing what we know, would we still have the interest in jumping into this line of work? And I tell you, it's a bad time, and it's a central focal point of when I'm out and about visiting with people on how this continual, nonstop anti-police theme, the impacts it's having. Because typically these times would come and go. They come in, they bustle for about a month or a few months or something. We all understood it's all for one for all if somebody screwed up. But this particular time, it just seems it's holding, and it just continues, and in some cases even gets worse. And like I said, whether it's the 24 News, the social media, whatever the case, like I said, albeit things are great here in Lubbock, support-wise, that national narrative, I think, still creeps in and makes it a lot harder. But I hope.
But Sheriff, I'll tell you, I think again that there's a lot of people here in Lubbock that are awfully pro-police.
Absolutely.
To answer this texter's question, if he wants to apply, anybody that wants to apply, what do they do?
Just go to lubbocksheriff.com, and it'll take them right to the information on where to click into to get into the application process.
Okay.
Not difficult at all.
Another texter says, "Are you still serving bologna sandwiches at the jail?" Apparently, this person has first-hand knowledge.
Well, I'm not going to suggest they don't serve bologna out there, but menu has been unimpeded since all this is taking place.
You probably don't serve prime rib, I'm guessing.
Okay.
No fillets either. So.
Now, Sheriff, we're running a little. Our time's running short. And I wanted to get to the increase. Now, according to the statistics I saw, somebody sent me a slide that from a presentation you had. We're getting an increase. We have more gangs in the Lubbock area. We also have more people in gangs. What are those numbers right now?
Right now, if memory serves, without having it right in front of me, I think we're looking at somewhere in the ballpark about 60 individual different gangs operating here within the Lubbock and South Plains area, and just right up under 1,800 total registered active gang members at present. And again, this is strictly due to the significant influx of narcotics and narcotics trafficking. And I think back to our segment before we went to break, that's only going to get exacerbated when we turn our back on the border down there. It's going to make it just that much easier for that stuff to be brought into the country and only create more problems. Competition is what drives this stuff, and it's a big money game. Right now, last I checked, a kilo of cocaine coming in here is about $31,000. So that's the kind of money that's in play with this stuff, and it's sadly enticing to that element to want to get what they can in that trade.
Okay, well, Sheriff, we're down to 20 seconds. I want to thank you for coming on. We'll try to get you on again real soon because I still have a list of questions I want to ask.
No worries.
All right.
You call me anytime, Matt.
All
Guys,
right.
Y'all be good.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sheriff
Sheriff
Kelly Rowe from Lubbock County Sheriff. And Chad Hasty is going to be next on KFYO.